Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video on Guns N' Roses, and through this song, Welcome to the Jungle, we looked at the danger of jungles, the mystery of jungles, the exhilaration of jungles, and if you're about to walk into a jungle right now, how you do that. So I trust you found that well, jungle philosophically speaking. Well, and I trust you found that encouraging. Well, we're going to continue on with that theme today, but we're going to build up the intensity just quite a few notches today. Good guys, we are talking about today considered the famous four of thrash, speed metal, heavy metal music. They were formed in 1981 in New York City. Scott Ian, very much a mainstay of the band, Dean Leica and Neil Bellante at the start, and there have been a few other people that have come and gone in this band ever since. The guys were talking about Anthrax. Now, I've got to confess here that heavy metal is not a genre I tend to listen to. So I had to really expand my mind here to try and get into what is heavy metal and what makes it so compelling. And I think I might understand a little bit more after looking at these guys today. The name Anthrax was chosen because they were just looking in a biology book. I thought the word anthrax was there. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It's got a bit of a word to it, bit of evilness to it, bit of intenseness to it. Let's call ourselves Anthrax. And so, well and truly, that's what they did. These guys are considered the Beatles of speed metal, according to the Rolling Stone magazine. So we're talking about absolutely chaotically feverish, intense, absolutely stunning music here. In fact, it's music. This is actually a force of nature that we're talking about today. Because together with Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer, they're considered the famous four of thrash metal and speed metal. And so that's the mindset you've got to have when you think about heavy metal. You think, oh man, this is a bit too much for me. Let's just strip it back for a second. And really following on a little bit from Welcome to the Jungle from Guns N' Roses last time. Now we've actually got a jungle full of snakes and spiders and all sorts of bits and pieces and absolute intense danger. And I think what heavy metal has brought to the world, they brought a level of intensity to music, a level of intensity to passion, a level of intensity to actually, we don't think the world's going really, really good at the moment. And we need to actually blast that message out. It's not good enough to actually, coast it through. If we think about songs, for instance, The War Is Over by John Lennon, absolutely, that's a call to change. Or Imagine All Their People. There's a very soft and quiet and a well-spoken side of song where these guys are saying, nah, we need to crank the drums up and the guitars up as fast as we can. In fact, we're going to be so ferocious with this, you're not going to help but get our message. And this is really and truly what Anthrax have done. If you think about the name Anthrax at the start, we'll get on to a little bit more about what happened to that name down the track. So when you do think of heavy metal, and I've got a few clips below here, you've got to keep that in the back of your mind. With any version of art, and heavy metal is an art form, it absolutely is. What's the artist trying to portray? You might be thinking, well, I have no idea. Well, get past that, because what heavy metal has done is it's gone past that point of no return, that point of conformity, when we don't really care if you don't get what we're on about. We just need to listen, and we're going to compel you to listen because we're going to blast it into your heart. And so when you look at these songs below, you've got to just keep that in the back of your head, that heavy metal is here for a reason. That is, it needs to make an impact with absolute gut-wrenching punch. And this is well and truly what Anthrax have done. So let's get on to the clips. So we do have 1984 from the Fistful of Metal album. We've got Metal Thrashing Mad. Now, this is a live version of this one. And so here we go. You can see right now what are the elements of heavy metal. First of all, you've got to have a pretty amazing drummer at the back, just keeping up with this absolutely intense drumming that's going on, their 10 speed and everything else. He's really hitting them quite hard here, and that's what you need to do, because you just got to let yourself go, knowing that you've got it. And with the thrashing drums, you've got to have actually have a driving bass, because those two together actually make the rhythm section of the band and the gut of the band pretty much. So if those two things aren't pumping, it's not going to work. And then you've got to have screaming, intense guitar above. And we're talking about absolutely distortion, full-on distortion here, that enables the band to really get the message across. Hey, we're going to compel you to listen to this stuff. We don't care what you think. In fact, if you think about that a little bit more for a second, that is this concept of anarchy. Now, I'm not advocating anarchy. Let's just get that. I'm not advocating you guys go out and riot. I'm not saying that either. But the true form of anarchy is basically no rules. And within that, you work out together how you're going to do that. But the unfortunate thing about human beings is we don't actually know how to do that very, very well. We don't collaborate, we don't get on with each other, and next minute, we've got passions boiling over and riots happening. But anarchy, in its true sense of the word, is just really, really getting on with each other with whatever we think. And, if that can challenge society just a little bit, perhaps without the rioting, that's not a bad thing. As again, without the rioting. I'm going to stress that a few times. So we've got metal, thrashing mad. So here we go here, absolutely here. Thrash metal is what Gut Slay were all about. And thrash metal is what you absolutely get with Fistful of Metal. What a great album title for a heavy metal band, a Fistful of Metal. And then we move to 1985, and we've got the Spreading the Disease album and Armed and Dangerous. Again, another live clip on this one. Spreading the Disease. Hey, we've made our presence felt to the world with this thing called heavy metal, this thrash metal thing. We now want to spread the word even stronger. And you know what? We're ready to go here. We're going to actually give you everything we got. We're going to actually compel you to listen to us. So we've got a lot of version of Spreading the Disease. Then we get to 1987 and considered one of the heavy metal albums of all time among the living. Very, very significant album in the scheme of things. Anthrax were really hitting their skids at this point, and they had a pretty massive following at this point as well. And in that, we've got the official clip of Indians. This is a very much an absolute protest song, this one. Protest for any indigenous race in this world that has been taken over. This is absolutely a heartfelt plea to what on earth are we doing. So we got Indians from the iconic Among the Living album. And then in 1987, we got the song I Am the Law. This is considered one of Anthrax's best songs. And just, again, if a band can do everything all together at the same time, and we're talking about absolute amazing synchronicity here amongst all the musos. We're talking pretty quick stuff. Very, very fast what's going on here. And to be able to just synchronize the accents that you need to do, it kind of just blows you away a little bit. And so, I Am the Law. And then, ever restless, I suppose, being a heavy metal band, you've got to be a bit restless, I think. They decided, well, what else can we do? So they decided, let's bring some rap in. And so they brought in Public Enemy, which was pretty big at this point, with the iconic Bring the Noise. And again, we want to bring the noise because the silence is too deafening. We need to actually deafen out the silence with some noise. And we're going to actually make sure that you guys hear every word that we say here. Of course, rap and heavy metal aren't that far apart each other about what they're both trying to do. They're both trying to actually compel the world to listen. And how amazing to be able to bring those two things together. I think it was Anthrax's idea to do this, to bring in a rap artist, and they absolutely nailed it with this iconic song from 1991. So we've got a live version of that one. Now, you know what happened with Anthrax a little bit later on, right? We started having letter bombs. Anthrax got actually connected with chemical weapons, and Anthrax are thinking, right, there we go. What are we going to do? I'm sure some people didn't consider Anthrax because of the name, but you know what? True to themselves, they said, we don't care. We're going to keep our name. We're going to run the risk of this and just keep doing it. And because of that, they've actually had a pretty amazing career. In fact, between 1984 and 2016, so that's 32 years right there. 11 studio albums. So every time there was an Anthrax release, given there were 4 in the first 3 years, actually, pretty significant if Anthrax releases an album. When they sort out all of their internal squabbling that happens from time to time, people go, they come back, they go, they come back, all the rest of it. This is a classic case of music. It is passionate. 11 studio albums, 7 live albums, 5 compilation albums, 6 video albums, 26 music videos, 4 EPs, and 26 singles. Now, they've sold probably around that 40 million mark in albums, so pretty significant in the scheme of things. And when you think of Anthrax, there's a fine line between rabid and exhilaration. And this is well and truly, that was a quote I read on the Wikipedia entry for these guys. That's a fine line between rabid and exhilaration. And Anthrax absolutely have nailed that fine line. And so, again, when you listen to these songs, you may not be used to listening to heavy metal. First of all, just realise it's pretty full on. It's gonna burst your eardrums because that's what heavy metal is. But what's the artist trying to portray? And that will know you just perhaps see heavy metal in a new light, and the fact that heavy metal is absolutely needed in this world today. So the links to those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips are in the description below. And I've also included my last video from Guns N' Roses, again on Welcome to the Jungle, so if you want to keep on them, feel free. Well, good to see you all back today. If you've come back for another one, or this is your first time to Life Reflections through Music, thank you to everyone for coming back or hanging around and being here. So good to see you all here. At the point of this video, we're up to 49 subscribers, so how cool is that? So, you know, spread the word around, just get us to that 50 mark. But you know what? Doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, you as all individuals, as I always say. So that's it for today. Next time, just for something absolutely chronically, ridiculously different to Anthrax, we've got Guy Sebastian. And now, you might remember Guy, he won the first episode of the first season of Australian Idol. He's gone to have a pretty amazing career since then. He's had a pretty amazing life, this guy. So, of course, we've got to give him a go because he starts with G. And that's kind of, we're getting to the end of the Gs now, pretty much. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.